Test. Comme ça. We have taken the enemy intelligence. We have taken the enemy intelligence. Success. We have secured the enemy intelligence. We have taken the enemy intelligence. We have dropped the enemy intelligence. We have taken the enemy intelligence.
did, mate! Thanks, mate! Spy around here! Medic! 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 Appreciate it. Bolt away! Teleporter coming right up. Moving out. Come on, get. Backing up. I'm moving this. That there wasn't getting any lighter. I'm moving this. That was getting heavy. Teleporter coming right up. Oh, packing up. Get going! Thanks for the pow! Sentry going up! You're all right, Doc. Sentry, pow! Building the sentry.
Alert. Our control point is being captured.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm moving this. fire wasn't getting any lighter.
Alert. The control point is being victored. Competition begins in 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Teleporter going up.
Control point enabled.
Teleporter going up.
Victory.
That was a very, very easy match. What the fuck?
Guys, what am I looking at? Who? You gotta let it stay paused for a minute so that you'll get to watch more of it with less interruption. It is also funny how sometimes it is with no small amount of fear and in the last few weeks or so, basically since April started, I've been just enamored with this new spectator sport I'd never heard of before. There's an account on here called Horse Race Tests, and they do quite literally that. They run horse races every day at noon EST. The contestants we are dealing with here are this lovely bunch of fellows, and yes, don't be mean, these are clearly horses. The consistent one to keep an eye on here is Mary, the orange one. They have been doing insane shit in order to represent just how fucking insane watching this can be. How, bro, The fact that shit of this quality has come out this quickly about this account is ridiculous because the guy who runs the horse race tests has only been doing it for like 2 weeks. In fact, just to show you how much this stuff has changed I want to take you through the journey of how we got here. This is the original one where horse race tests were introduced as just a new prototype. We're seeing a very basic thing here with basic color blocked obstacles and courses and the first renditions of the horses that will be the contestants we spend way too much money on parlays. Place your bets in 3, 2, 1. I got the blue one. Man, oh my god, it's like playing golf with friends with collision on, man. Yeah, my goat's on it. I'm being so serious. Oh no, he's making backwards progress. This isn't good. You would expect these things to be done faster because of our TikTok attention spans, but these things are so chaotic and can set themselves back so easily that the tension holds for a lot longer. Like as we watched our blue fella do, he made the most progress any of these guys had on the court, and then he managed to bounce himself all the way back out of it. Skipping to the end here, we can see it all become a little more even. Come on, you. Yes, he's got it. The blue guy did it. And that was just the first one, the most primitive version of this entire thing. Let's go through the winning categories here. In the same way that if you're trying to get off meth, you shouldn't be watching Breaking Bad during the withdrawals. If you have a gambling addiction, there's a very good chance that watching something like this could fuck you up bad. If you can do so responsibly, this is a lot of fun to watch as entertainment, but take care of yourself, or you could end up like this guy. Before I watched this, I imagined I was a gambling addict, and I was so depressed and anxious and upset and afraid to go home to my family, I put all my grocery plus rent money on the turquoise horse. The video is no fun to watch. Glad my game made you feel something. It's not about the direction of the feeling, just the amount you are feeling. I gotta go with my blue guy again, bro. He didn't let me down last time. We are gonna skip through these because we're going through like the history books right now. Oh my god, blue's not winning. Oh my god, dude, the last fucking second steal. That was absurd. And then he also added these winning animations. Very beautiful. You can tell the yellow horse takes very good care of its coat. But we're gonna start speeding through these. Test race 3 we get onto, and these things are becoming more complex by the day. There's more variation in the pixel color in the background. And even this early on, you'll notice the orange horse just pulling way the fuck ahead of the rest of the pack. Like, this is absurd how far ahead it's already in compared to everybody else. It maintains that lead for a while, but does lose it eventually. But it's around here that, like, you can tell it's getting all shifty-eyed, and then yep, there it goes, very strategically making its way around the donuts, using the momentum from the bounces in the more closed-off location in order to get a good bank when he needs to actually hit the carrots. He's actually being kind of a terrible sport. He's a showboat. And here we have the rendered picture of the orange horse. Get used to seeing this fucking thing, man. Get used to seeing this goddamn thing. And every time this guy posted a new test race, the jump in numbers is staggering each time. On number 4 is when this thing started hitting 5 digits, 10,000. This is officially an event that fills up a standard 15,000 capacity arena. So far, yellow has 1, dark blue has 2, and orange has 1. Keep that in mind. My game and 3 games that inspired it. I hope that means someday we will be allowed to play the horse race game ourselves. Maybe make our own courses, create our own horses. Damn, bars. But also, yeah, just like make some of them really OP and evil. Okay, horse race test 5. Dude, I kind of hate that he used that voice because I don't remember which one it's from, but it's the same thing that one of the creepy evil things does in an analog horror. I don't know if I'm mixing up my Mandela catalog and Greylock stuff, but it keeps coming up and I can't ever stop thinking about it. Every single horse race has been more popular than the last so far. As you can see, the production is getting a lot more high budget. The horses sound more audibly like horses and not just, you know, marbles in a Rube Goldberg machine going to knock down a domino. They be grunting. Loud as hell. But they be fucking grunting. I'm watching that orange motherfucker because he always seems to hit these crazy lucky shots out of nowhere. It's like he's got like some sixth sense, man, or like he's just like more alert, able to make moves faster. It's almost like unnatural. Okay, we got a gray win. That's a first time. New winner. Yellow has 1 win. Dark blue has 2. Orange has 1 and gray has 1. Our original pick, the one who did end up winning, and I'm gonna be honest, I genuinely hadn't watched that one, so I felt really cool when I caught that on camera. Like, it seems like we placed our bets on the right one for longevity's sake. Like, if we're trying to go for the long haul parlay, this is when this shit got ridiculous. Race 6 was a double back-to-back feature. The course has dramatically changed. There are now smaller but more frequent obstacles that could make trajectories look absolutely crazy and wildly unintended compared to the way the horse probably wanted to go. Orange Horse just seems to adapt to this shit the most, though. The conclusion of Test Race 6 is in the comments. I suppose it can really go on that long, man. This is not a sport for those with low attention spans or whose hearts could give out easily because you will be stressed for a long time. Orange maintains his lead, but he's having a hard time with the dismount here. He's really struggling to get back in that pocket and get in that 45-degree angle northeast that he needs. Lost in his progress in a major way, but he's made his gains back as White tries to come for a buzzer beater of a finish. They are neck and neck, and White takes the lead, at least in space, but it's stuck in a stun lock going back and forth. Our boy Orange, and he gets the carrots, bro. Orange for the carrots. That puts Dark Blue and Orange tied for 2 wins each. In the meantime, though, the creator has been reckoning with the realities of fame, having something that people are so enraptured by and get very invested in. There's responsibility and danger that comes with that. My dear acquaintance, Tony and Lazy Joe heard rumors that if the Sea and Horse ain't winning next, some things are gonna start happening. And hey, if he do win, maybe something will fall off a truck. You never know. Either way, you ain't hear it from me, pal. Getting threats trying to rig the games in the favor of somebody's favorite horse. Presumably the ones that they bet on, man. This is classic mob shit. The Snakes Andrews have the fortitude to withstand the attacks by these people? Finding out about colorblind accessibility issues through people bribing me? Thou wouldst be not but a fool if thou art to refuse mine offer of 10,000 doubloons for the victory of the famed purple horse. 'Twould be a great shame if the stomping ground were to be hollowed by demonic presences. Which one is the purple one? I'm worried about colorblind accessibility, but I didn't anticipate the horse game blowing up. I may make them all different shapes. That would be a good way to do it. Call one of them the sharp horse. Week 1 horse race test highlights. This was the first continuation of it. And this is like a prospect and universe that's already been getting like crazy fan art. And look at this list of artists on the right just depicting what they're seeing in the most epic of proportions. Yeah, yellow horse gets it on. Go yellow. A dance with death awaits the circle of death. That face is not one of distress, but of quiet acceptance. And that's the end of week 1, man. We're getting closer to modern territory. This is the type of thing these people were already dealing with as a community. Horse race test aesthetics are nightmarish if you're not part of the culture. It keeps showing up in my feed. The suicide threats, the Cian hype, the clicking of the hooves, the circle of death, the concentration on cartoon slop. Cian is a jobber sent by Big Horse to body block the real competitors, Orange, from actually winning. This Twitter horse race shit gets serious, man. We begin to get few words on the next layout of these horse races. Probably the most complex course we've seen horses have to go through yet is given a preview of here, and this poll got tons of votes. A lot of people have a literal stake in which horse they think is going to win. Cyan at this point has had a massive amount of hype, as you can see by the results of the poll, and also this guy having to weather the attacks of other scientists. We have the For Real Definitely Northern Lion account just freaking out that his son is not doing anything of note in this race. He sold so hard. This is like genuinely embarrassing. I wouldn't even want to be seen alive. And the brown horse just looks like a normal goddamn horse stock photo. The next time these three went head to head, White definitely did better, but based on the reactions and the replies, you can tell that it did not go as they would have liked. He's still stuck in the top right while brown horse is putting in the work over here. That's 2 in a row for Doorknob, man. It is the most dominant athlete in its field at the moment, bro. The level of dominance Brown is showing in this competition can really only be compared to the likes of a Simone Biles or a LeBron James. You may have noticed that we are actually missing several horses from the original season of the horse races, maybe so that there could be tighter course design, that sort of thing. And we'll find out soon because we have a new map with 2 new returning contestants. They have all different hitboxes now, so it's much more varied on the ways they could bounce off incredibly diverse geometry. The way their eyes move around now kind of freaks me out, but it's also like kind of cute, like they're just curious and really locked into what they're doing, man. Like they're always looking where they're going next. Orange is pulling ahead like crazy. This is an insane run. He's taking it slow and steady, but he's making these angled shots correctly, and he's stuck in a vertical stun wall. Orange is almost certain to clinch this. It's just a matter if anybody can catch up and get a lucky bounce ahead of time. And it's got it. Orange was the only one even close to getting something here. Jovial Merriment has gotten the carrots again. Who is going to win Friday's race? Jovial Merriment, Doorknob, Yellow, or Unmentioned Horse? Some people do continue to complain about the format, man. Can you make the map less aggressive? It makes me uncomfortable to watch. I know my game has cartoon horses, but I don't make cozy games. Thanks for watching. Evil, evil little game dev. All game devs are evil. April 12th, we get a view of the new map going into Friday, and this is the race at hand. It's maintaining a large cult following that actually tune back in every single day to see what everybody's up to. Orange again pulls a lead as we get to the end of this video, man. It is definitely wasting its time ladder stalling, about to hit a trick shot. It knows it secured its place. At least it might feel that way. These things can change on a dime. It's very, very subject to the god of competitions and Olympus looking down on us. Orange gets it a second time in a row. Can you believe that? This is not a pattern I see ending anytime soon. Dude, can Cian win at least once? My wife can't take any more beatings, and it's on you for making him lose. And I'm gonna be honest, I feel like it kinda worked. This guy decided to give Cian and White their own face-off. People joke that Jovial Merriment will swoop in with a win out of nowhere, but there's only one way to find out, and it was a farce. Nobody won. Not either of the fans, because none of their favorites win. Not me for watching, because it was wasted minutes of my life. Not really. It was actually a pretty brave display of the man who's in charge of this and his dedication to keeping everything above board. He's not throwing out pity wins, man. This is about who is the best of the best. Another new map was revealed just a day ago, and the whole cast is back. This map does feel a little less aggressive than the last one, which I'm not necessarily against, but it does lead to some more cautious and calculating maneuvering from the horses in the competition. Yellow takes the lead. The warm colors are the trio, like, leading the pack at this point in the match. Red is third place while yellow and orange duke it out for first, and the others struggle in the spawn to even get a handle on where they're going. Orange hits it with an incredible bounce. Definitely the real Northern Lion complains that it may be a fluke and that maybe there should be a redo, and is rejected in his appeal. And the final race we have is the same setup as the last map, the only difference being the carrots have moved position downstairs. This music goes so fucking hard, dude. I can't wait for the next one. And for the first time, Orange loses. Definitely the real Northern Lion is ecstatic. Throwing a chair at him did work. But there's been a lot of discourse on the nature of this loss and how real was it. He finally loses a match after an incredible streak, arguably the GOAT of the sport. Accused of doping, immediately starts performing like shit. Curious. The scandal is not without its members on both sides. Jovial Merriment has more than enough diehards to be defended online. Jovial Merriment is a lot of people's GOAT, man. This is about as close as we have to an anime music video tribute to the whole series. It really puts it in perspective how quickly this thing blew up. This montage was made by Quake. Drugs. Taking performance-enhancing drugs. Loves Hamilton the musical. This shit is unbelievable, man. This is like real fandom. This is people invested in the goddamn story of it all. We got Blue Horse fan cams before we got the cure to cancer. Doorknob gets the Explored the Most Rooms award. As long as Doorknob is having fun, I'm happy. This is like what sports fans whose team never wins have to tell themselves. This Spud guy had some opinions about this, man, and it seems like a lot of people agree. This thing is like getting meta tweets. I think this might have been the initial doping allegations, because a lot of people think Orange really is a cheat.
I've come to a conclusion. This nigga Jovial Merriment needs to go. Never in my 21 years of life have I seen a horse with a fucking track record like this. What's
Satan's
going on
greatest
here, bro?
soldier.
Like, I'm actually not shitting you. He's won almost every race he's been in. People are saying he's on performance enhancing drugs.
This was the fucking meme that did it for me. Like the fuck. orange horse just hanging the other one alive. I can't.
At this point, I'm starting to believe it. This horse is not fucking normal. He is a roided up cheater. I know where he was on January 6th. I just want Pink to win.
I'm sorry, man. Pink's trash. Jovial Merriment losing his sauce is not gonna help your fucking guy, man. He's a fraud. Anyways, those are the circumstances up to this point. If you guys want it, I can update y'all further when there are major developments. Anyway, in my heart that I have to tell you that it is with no small amount of fear in my heart that I have to tell you that this horse racing stuff has gone off the tracks. This is a race that didn't even have tracks before, and somehow it found a way to just like no clip out of them. Hey fellas, and welcome back to With a Y, and I barely even know where to start. Like, I considered making this 2 videos, but then I realized that the 2 different topics I was going to talk about like kind of intersect in a way that you can't really tell the full story without mentioning them at once. Also, while this channel is still named Quite and not with a Y, I'm just gonna plug that my YouTube is out for a limited time only, 4 weeks only. It's just below the fold in the description because what I'm talking about in today's video is the most important aspect. I guess the first thing to know is that our boy Jovial Merriment, the orange horse, is still out here just cleaning house. The only horse to win a 3-peat Jovial fucking Merriment. Like, I barely want to commentate it, man. He's like just so disrespectful and disgusting. Look at him doing this horizontal back and forth shit just because he knows everybody else is stuck and isn't gonna get past him. And as soon as one of them showed gumption, he's like, all right, I'm done playing games. And then he goes for the goddamn carrots. Like, he still got it to the point where they're saying that he's not in the race where they swapped out the carrots for apples, because the orange horse just doesn't care for apples. He thinks they insist upon themselves. Meet the goat. They call him 007. No performance-enhancing drugs, no close competitors, given the worst starting position multiple times and still winning. There's no way Jovial wins again. Like, it can't be put down to random chance anymore. Out of any competitive sport, this might be the single most dominant athlete we've ever witnessed. My mother asked me if the dishes were done. I nodded and uttered, resolute mind afternoon. You can see in this post a little bit of cope for those who aren't a fan of Jovial, who root for the underdogs, under horses as it were. Lend me some Yuri Cyan. This is base Jovial we're up against. If you have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about, what you need to know is that Cyan is like at the back of the pack, and it's almost sad. Horse Andrew set up a race where Cyan was noticeably absent, and what happens here? Resolute and Mary were squaring off for a little bit, but I think we know how this is gonna end. Dude, look at the pathing on that. That was disgusting. The way they got back in the crack. Oh my god. Jovial wins to no one's surprise, and this is usually where the race ends. But there's an after credit scene. This is what happened to Cyan. They were given a completely open plane where they were competing against nobody so they could have some carrots of their own. This is how they feed Cyan because they are not bringing the bread home on their own. I don't know how to explain this, man. It gets stuck in the starting area immediately. It's a straight line. It's a straight line. There are no weird diagonals to look for, and this guy just cannot get these carrots in any universe. Like, look at this. He grazes by it like a bullet to my face. This goes on for another minute, man. Being a Cyan fan is just straight up torture. The thing is, though, in a lot of sports, some of the most popular figures aren't always those who are at the absolute top of their class. There's a lot of people who have like strong personalities or kind of like spokesmen for the thing that they're an athlete in. And you know, there's definitely something to that. They're making potential memes about this. They have the potential to rival Mary. His real name will go crazy. They're one of the last horses that hasn't been given a name other than their color, which is a shame. She'll win a real race eventually because she's only winning the setup ones where she's not fighting anybody. But this is the part that people have been getting invested in. Mary may have a winning streak, but Cyan has bitches. This is original artwork by Mango Lord, who turned the horses into Yuri. I think they said it's Yowie and Yuri at the same time, so whichever is your preference, you can go for that. And you know, the absolutely Northern Lion Twitter account replied for the first time, and I think ever, something positive to a tweet that was horse race related. The cope at the time was that maybe Jovial Merriment is absolutely dominant in this sport, but they've committed their life to that, and their personal lives remain unfulfilled because they have put everything they have into a sport, only to get absolutely negged when Orange was found just laying pipe down on Yellow. They had on their ice while they were plowing, man. That dude still has the medals on when they're cuddling in bed. This is like dastardly behavior. Look at this shit, man. What are they? Jovial Merriment is the current A-plot, and this is the type of shit they're doing. The horse race thing has expanded to a lot of other genres, and there is a little something here for everybody, so I can see the mass appeal becoming bigger than ever sooner than later. But if you scroll down to what's going under the bed, down here is where Cyan has been stuck. People started to take notice that not only Cyan, but also the white horse were missing, which led to this incredible visual. What if Cyan was locked in the time chamber for millennia and betrayed? Which I personally think would be worthy of a full 4-hour video. The thing to remember is that some of the horses are genuinely missing, and if you remember the original White versus Cyan face-off when they were both kind of equally in the dumps and ended up dating as a result, what you're looking at here is not the main course of this video. The track at the beginning is White versus Cyans. They're searching for them. These horses are not competing against each other. They are in a search party looking for their friends, because as much as like jovial merriment is a dominant force, these are all a bunch of people who were brought together for their shared love of the sport they compete in, man. Everybody is fucking around here like just hopelessly trying to find their lost friends, and then suddenly we, the audience, are put into a spot we haven't seen before. This is a map so crusty and weirdly angled, it's just putting the competitors, who are also oddly shaped, into circumstances we've just never had to consider before because the maps were never made like this. Now, these horses aren't named until a little later. One of these horses does clinch the win, and I would commentate over this if I knew their names, but something very sinister happens when one of them wins. It's almost like they are aberrant to the world we've so far been engaging with. No name, just something. A creature, something alive. I don't know what else I can say about it. I just know I've never seen any horse that looks like this. Again, we have this same group of B-side horses running a race, and their forms are maybe not unnatural, but unlike anything I've ever seen before. But we finally get our first name when this horse over here wins the bid. In Metal Mario boss music to introduce it, Nighttime Knifemare, man. It probably could stab me with any of these number of appendages it's got attached to its... I don't even know if I can call that its head, man. Like, what's going on? It's, at least unlike the last guy, this dude has feet I can clearly see it uses to gallop, but they are non-standard in shape. Wild horses running through your hollow bones. White and Cyan have to take comfort in each other, because the only comfort that exists in the sunken place they're in is in each other. Now, after Nighttime Nightmare won the first round in this video, we go to another 1v1 face-off where we see a familiar face. This one got off the rails very quickly, I'm not gonna lie. Like, the speeds that White ended up picking up as it, like, bounced between all these almost pinball machine-like obstacles, velocities the race rarely goes on long enough to reach. They're getting better at navigating their way through these rocks, but it's still a rough go of it all. Sorry, I've been calling superstitional realism White the whole time. I forgot they actually managed to get their full name. Dude, it's been a week and I'm already out of the loop. I left town for like a weekend trip to New York, and now I don't know what's happening anymore, bro. I was supposed to be the guy who is tapped in, but I'm failing. Hell nah, Cyan took 40 Benadryls. Now they in the sunken place. Some people have speculated about the imagery of the race that superstitional realism faced against its doppelganger. It notably takes the shape of a wound, which implies that something is coming. Life is about to be given birth. Whether that's a good or a bad thing is hard to say. Now, Soup and Cyan are in a very committed relationship to each other, and this is superstition desperately fighting to get out of the sunken place so they can be with their love. Shit is getting rough out here, man. I don't know how else to say it. I hope I don't have to fight my evil shadow self today. Hey, no fucking way! There's the spare joke about how this is the conclave that will be gathering to elect the next pope. There's also the feeling that Mary not being in recent races isn't a coincidence. Like, these are the three regulars who are out of the normal play at the moment. This is how Lumpy phrased it. Well, these guys were chasing after an apple, which just really isn't to Mary's taste if you're anything of a real fan. See it. Superstitional realism. Don't worry. I'm on my way. The rescue arc begins! I could go beat by beat to try and figure out what the fuck is happening, man, but there is just so much lore to catch up on. This is how it must feel like getting into One Piece now. The series seems like it's taking a further dip into the surreal, and let's say the safe veneer of the story up till this point is getting peeled back and we're finding out what horse racing actually entails.
I've been going through something. Be afraid.
Fuck it, dude. It is vicious what they are doing in this fandom. I can't believe it's evolved this strongly, and I can only hope it keeps going. Apologies if this video was a little all over the place. There was a lot to catch up on, and I've been away myself, so I'm trying to synthesize this together. For anybody who just doesn't...
This IRL...
Salut.
Hey, did you like Blood Mall? This is made by the same guy, and not me, I'm Markiplier. I just made the video. Well, I didn't... I edited Blood Maw, but I don't think I edited this one. Did I edit this one? Whoever is here? Voices in my head? Mysterious person standing in the doorway? I don't know. Who knows? Not me. Not them. I don't know who that is. Oh God! I realized halfway through that I was probably supposed to read that, but it just seemed I didn't want to spoil it with my dumb voice. That was kind of creepy. I love that as a start. I don't want to get their faces. What do you mean? Who are you talking to? Was that a letter to yourself or whatever? Each light detects electromagnetic activity. Does one capture a photo? Camera will instantly develop the image. Supercolor CL35, known for its ability to capture the unseen. Take photos in cold spots for best results. In a cold spot, the light goes solid and the beeping stops. It sure does. Wow. Get rid of that. Okay. Celsius meter. Mobile C63. Okay, good. Order update protocol BF473A. We now require mandatory check-ins every 30 minutes until further notice. Update your codes on chart 14. Failure to comply will result in discipline.
I'm going to ask you something. When I show you this video of a ninja cyborg picking up and throwing a giant mech while early 2010s rock music blasts through cheap TV speakers, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Is it nice? Is it sick? Is it that's ridiculous? Well, all of those are wrong, and what you should have thought was, I wonder what he thinks about the commodification of war as a product and how the power elite disregard the desires of those that they supposedly represent in order to perpetuate that system to benefit themselves. Hello, my name is Sweets Online, future congressman, currently still getting swirlies in college. And this is Metal Gear Rising, a game where a private security cyborg ninja fistfights a US senator on top of a top secret city-destroying robot while they argue about memes. No technicalities, ands, ifs, buts, substitutions, exchanges, or refunds. That is verbatim what happens. Put that in your political compass and smoke it. Another 10 trillion to Israel.
The Metal Gear series is a game that's always been overtly political, or so I'm told. I don't know. I've never actually played another Metal Gear game.
But Metal Gear Rising Revengeance is a game that is so shamelessly over the top that the first and only game in the series requires 2 subtitles, one of which is a compound of 2 other words. And as someone who's currently studying politics, I can't ignore a game that has people proudly proclaiming that they want things to be, quote, like the good old days after 9/11. Alright, Northern Lion, you have my attention. But despite being downright silly at times, the game's ideological heart is shockingly nuanced and honest. And I think its over-the-topness makes it not only worthy of examining in terms of its own message, but also makes it a really good conduit to describe the state of politics, and specifically online politics as it is today. Because, let's be honest, in a space that has devolved into people who don't leave their room performatively yelling at more people who don't leave their room, it kinda leaves a sour taste in the mouth of people who actually want to engage with these topics. No matter what side of the aisle you're on, and that's not me trying to both sides this. The only thing that takes more left turns than me is NASCAR. But no matter what side of the aisle you're on statistically, I don't think you would describe your favorite political pundit as cool. And if nothing else, Metal Gear Rising is unapologetically, unwaveringly, and undeniably cool as all hell. So welcome to a new series where I try to teach myself about political and cultural ideas and analysis via video games. So we are going to iron out, what exactly are we, aka Raiden, fighting against? What are we fighting for? What are the larger implications of this? And what the hell is this game trying to say? I'm not going to be trying to slot these characters into existing political parties, so I'm not going to be saying stuff like, and that's why Blade Wolf's a Republican. I'm going to be examining characters and seeing what political ideologies they espouse or might align with. So if you're JJ McCullough, you can click off now. I know you think ideology is dumb and gay. An ideology is basically, okay, so let's use cooking as an example. If having individual political opinions is making a meal from scratch, just kind of throwing stuff together, maybe some of it works together, some of it doesn't, but you like it good enough, then an ideology is following a recipe. Some people will understand how everything works together or go to the efforts to learn how everything works together, but a lot of people mostly just trust that Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg already thought about it and it will make sense and will be good. And I'm also going to be keeping things largely isolated to Metal Gear Rising, mostly just because I don't have time to play every Metal Gear Solid game for this video. Just like how you don't have time to deal with all of the malware that you might pick up while browsing the internet without this video's sponsored NordVPN. Know where to find it. Thank you, Nord, and back to the video. Metal Gear Rising Revengeance takes place in the dark, brutal, and unimaginable terror that is 2018, a year in which, in real life, I was 14 and mildly racist, and in Metal Gear is a pro-vicious conquering libertarian's wet dream. Basically, every world military and police force are trained and supported by a variety of private military companies, which isn't an unheard of example, with the most famous recent example being the Wagner Group in Russia. They've done a lot of stuff all around the Middle East and Africa that I'm not going to get into. But more recently, they were kind of a boogeyman of the battlefield in Ukraine for a little bit there, until their leader Yevgeny Prigozhin got too big for his britches, did a little revolt, disappeared for a little bit there, and then mysteriously and conveniently got his plane blown out of the sky. One of the largest of the game's PMCs is called World Marshal, based in the lawless frontier that is Denver, Colorado. Metal Gear Rising's world is also a big win for transhumanists because fucking everyone is a cyborg. Booyah. Transhumanism is an ideology that at a base level claims that people should augment themselves with technology in order to be harder, better, faster, stronger. And the fun part about this is that everyone can do it as long as your politics aren't explicitly against technological innovation. You could be a fucking postmodern agrarian neo-fascist and still fit this in somewhere. Hence why both the bad guys, Congress, and the good guys, former child soldier turned hired gun turned vigilante, look like they drink motor oil and crash without Wi-Fi. I'm going to start with the two main bad guys, those being Sundowner and the rest of the Winds of Destruction, and Senator Stephen Armstrong. This is Sundowner. He's pretty simple. He fucking loves war. He focuses a lot less on the actual practical effects of war, casualties, than he does war as a product. The purely self-interested concept of buying and selling arms, upgrades, and defense itself. He's the head of a private military company and makes a lot of money from war, thus, big fan of the Forever War. And fun fact, there aren't really a lot of ideologies that are like, we fucking love war! Because to quote Sun Tzu, there's no instance of a nation benefiting from prolonged warfare, and unfortunately Lockheed Martin is not a political ideology unless, of course, you are a member of Congress. There is one main ideology that I think Sundowner is supposed to represent, but there are a couple of little thorns that make it not match up exactly. Neoconservatism. Loves the free market, loves foreign intervention, big fan of the Forever War. Could be his thing if it weren't for the fact that it just loves democracy so damn much. And it also hates most forms of extremism, which doesn't really mesh with the fact that these guys are pretty much terrorists. But overall, with all the talks about
good old days after 9/11,
I think that Sundowner is functionally supposed to serve as a critique slash satire of the buzzword time military-industrial complex that results from neoconservatism in practice. Especially because post 9/11 Bush is still like the poster boy of neoconservatism.
Now watch this drive.
You know the deal, axis of evil. We sent troops into Afghanistan for like 20 years and killed millions. Senator Armstrong, on the other hand, way different. Armstrong initially starts off with a pretty similar, slightly more neoconservative and neoliberal tune, which, fun fact, not opposing ideologies. To simplify it a bit, neoconservatives focus on foreign intervention and neoliberals focus on domestic economic deregulation. People have been known to espouse both. But once you go beat the boss 2 on him for a little bit, he starts to open up about what he really believes, which just watch him explain it, I think.
all right, the truth then. You're right about one thing. I do need capital and votes. Want to know why? I have a dream. What? That one day, every person in this nation will control their own destiny. A land of the truly free, damn it. A nation of action, not words, ruled by strength, not committee. where the law changes to suit the individual, not the other way around. Where power and justice are back where they belong, in the hands of the people. Where every man is free to think, to act for himself. Fuck all these lunatic lawyers and chicken shit bureaucrats. Fuck this 24/7 internet spew of trivia and celebrity bullshit. Fuck American pride. Fuck the media. Fuck all of it! America's diseased, rotten to the core. There's no saving it. We need to pull it out by the roots. Wipe the slate clean. Burn it down! And from the ashes, a new America will be born. Evolved, but unchained. The weak will be purged, and the strongest will thrive, free to live as they see fit. They'll make America great again!
Oh yeah, this game came out in 2013, by the way, long before the red hats and saying that Hillary got schlonged by Obama. Side note, single funniest thing anyone has ever said on a campaign trail. Okay, back to the monologue.
What the hell are you talking about? You still don't get it. I'm using war as a business to get elected. So I can end war as a business. In my new America, people will die and kill for what they believe. Not for money, not for oil, not for what they're told is right. Every man will be free to fight his own wars.
So Armstrong packs a lot in there, but long story short, he wants to be Yujiro Hanma, a brute strength pro. But what he's saying does kind of reflect anarcho-egoism, which can be shortened to just egoism. An ideology that promotes the individual above all else and claims that things like the state and society are, fairy dust. He also very much subscribes to the concept of social Darwinism, which is pretty much exactly what he said: by letting the strong rampage, the weak will be culled. And finally, you could call him a war accelerationist. Accelerationism is an ideology that looks at a thing and says that we should do it as much as possible, as fast as possible, and as innovatively as possible, either in the hopes that the subject will immensely prosper or self-destruct. There's two kinds of people who want a million genders: one who just legitimately thinks that's a good thing, and the other who hopes that people will get fed up and go back to, family values or something like that. And the pragmatic view would be that both of those should work together and be friends because the method is the same. Anyways, Armstrong wants to accelerate privatized war in order to collapse privatized war. And both of these are up against Raiden, aka Saucy Jack, whose main guiding ideal is pretty simple: he wants to protect the weak. And it would be one thing if he wanted to set up systems or change society to do that, except he wants to do it all himself. His ideology is that he's a moron, and his AI dog calls him out for it. But it does loosely kind of make him a humanist, I think, except he also has no problem murdering people. There's a big moment where the bad guys are like, look, the cyborgs we're using are doing this against their will. What are you gonna do now, Jack? And his final conclusion is that he just really likes killing people. Funnily enough, throughout this game, Raiden serves as some kind of reactionary. Reactionary politics are usually conservative and are typically associated with your back in the good old days crowd. Everything new is a little bit bad. Raiden doesn't have super strong convictions of his own, except for his protect the weak thing, and is kind of just acting in response to the ideologies of others, which is brought up a couple of times throughout the game, with characters encouraging him to fight for what he believes in sometime. And while Armstrong definitely isn't your typical bleeding heart lib, he does want a completely different social and political structure, which I think technically by definition is progress. But the single biggest overall message that this game wants to tackle is the concept of ideas and how they replicate and spread.
The memes.
A meme is a term coined by Richard Dawkins that has accidentally gone way further than he intended, because he is a biologist and not a social scientist.
And by the way, I should add that I only ever proposed it in order to downplay the gene as the only unit of natural selection. I wasn't intending it to be a contribution to the theory of human culture.
And to talk about this, I decided to interview someone who is even more chronically and politically online than I am.
My name is Paul. I go by PF Young on YouTube.
This is PF Young, #1 Jordan Peterson fan, self-proclaimed enlightened centrist, and pioneer in the pseudo-intellectual field of applied sociology.
It's a pseudo-academic field that I like to make seem more credible than it is. I am interested in how ideas spread, and I am interested in ensuring that good ideas spread.
He's debated destiny, Vosh, a bipolar functioning alcoholic, and more. And is the creator of I can't even say that, that's insane. And is the creator of thoughtful videos such as Everyone Who Disagrees with Me is Probably Autistic. I'm now gonna let him explain his theory of memes, what they are, and how they reproduce in today's internet culture.
Most people watching know what a meme is. It's a funny image on the internet, blah, 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 whatever, right? That's one subcategory of meme. But if you only think of meme as funny image on the internet, you're missing the whole picture. It's sort of like, if I say the word sport, you go, soccer's a sport. And then you only think of soccer anytime I say the word sport. It's like, that's not wrong. Like, soccer is a sport, allegedly. But there's many other types of sports, right? And memes were literally, the way to think about it is what genes are to genetics and biological organisms, memes are to memetics and cultural concepts. So every biological entity that that's ever existed, down to the little bacteria to blue whale or whatever the largest life forms are, they're all made up of genes, right? Discrete units of biological information. Okay, the technical definition of a meme is a discrete unit of cultural information. Now the question people always ask is, why not just call it an idea? Why even call it a meme? And the reason is because when you say the word meme, it invokes the frame of biological evolution. So you can use your understanding of how genes and genetics evolved to then help understand how memes transmit.
Metal Gear Rising specifically wants to talk about ideas and culture as viral agents, how the use of the internet and certain optics can be used to target and spread specific memes, how these get left behind, propagated, and weaponized. Could you describe your theory of memetic fitness?
Yeah, memetic fitness, again, invoking the frame of genetic fitness. Genetic fitness refers to the degree to which a biological organism is able to
il est sorti. Est-ce que c'est oui annoncé? Minutes de téléchargement, ok, ça va être rapide.